And welcome back for another Flashpoint. This one is one of the ones I mentioned that is a much longer. Uh, this is a two for one, but you'll see the one of the two is not very long here. I mentioned earlier that there are some Flashpoints that you get that I have never run because I always turn them down. This is one of them. The Cappellan Confederation, which I don't have a very good reputation with to begin with, uh, is trying to contract us, more or less for all intents and purposes, to hunt down and assassinate a political dissident on this planet. Um, I'm sorry, but that is not mercenary work. That is like mob hitman work. No, just no, I'm not doing this. And as she says, when you turn it down, I don't blame you. I find it distasteful too, but this is what I have been ordered to do. Welcome to the Cappellan Confederation. The Chancellor, at this point, Maximilian Liao, has declared that this needs to be done. This person needs to be finished off and gotten rid of. And this is before the Fourth Succession War, so it's not full blown yet at this point. But good old Max is, to put it mildly, batshit fucking crazy. So yeah, uh, it would behoove you, unless you are somebody, because there's every faction has its supporters. Unless you're somebody who is a Cappellan fan, it would behoove you not to take ones like this because, good God, no, just no. So get rid of that, skip right on to the next one. We're still in the Cappellan Confederation. For some reason, working for the Draconis Combine, as good old Bob is trying to curry favor with a local dignitary and her family. And we'll get into it because it's a little convoluted and weird. But as you see, if you look down at the time, this is one of the longer ones. This is, I believe, a 3 battle, possibly 4, with a lot of dialogue and explanation of what is going on, because this one's kind of a mess. So I will try not to get ahead of it and let it explain itself as it unfolds, give you the cliff notes of what's being said. Basically, he is trying to curry the favor of the head of House Kulan, who is one of the members of the Planetary Council of this planet. And even he says, is kind of like a low key nod to the fact that he shouldn't be there. I have no idea why anybody in the Draconis Combine has taken interest in this planet, because it's at the opposite end of the Cappellan Confederation from anywhere near Draconis space. But he does what he's told, so this is where he is. Um, you get a chance to talk to her in a minute here, and you and I, at this point, being the cynical, experienced periphery mercenaries, read along with this and look at the picture of her, and tell me, as Sumire says when it's all done, uh, this is like sickeningly saccharine sweet to the point of being questionable. This is a little odd. Basically, he's, oh, my beloved boy, my heir, has been trapped in the Red Roost, which is this facility we own, this fortified bunker that we own by a group of mercenaries that he's too scared to come out. And I need you to liberate him and eliminate this threat to our house, which pretty much any mercenary, especially a periphery several year veteran mercenary, long term veteran mercenary at this point, is going to look at this and go, something doesn't feel quite right here. But at this point of the mission, you just have a feeling that something's not quite right. But you go with it anyway because this is all you know. This is what you've been contracted to do. This is the job. So in we go to take on these mercenaries. And the first part of this battle is what takes so long. Uh, you have another, like in the last one I ran, you have a drop limit. You can only have so much weight. And considering I believe we're up against 2 full lances plus a unit commander, I got a little squirrely with what I wanted to do, and it didn't quite work out, so it made it take longer. Like, we don't take massive losses or anything. It just didn't go as quickly as I would have liked. It was more drawn out than it should have been. But I basically, with the exception of swapping out taking the Hatchet Man instead of the Hunchback as the command mech, it's basically my old um, medium lance from early on in the game here I'm running. But with everybody being spread out and coming in waves, I tried to split up, as you'll see, and do a little bit of flanking with the fast-moving mech. And it didn't work out quite that well. It didn't, like, backfire and get me, way in over my head and get me killed. But it just didn't work out as well as I would have hoped it did, and it made the mission take a lot longer than it probably should have. If I'd have been able to do this with my heavy lance, like, they were all under 75 tons, but the overall drop limit, my heavy lance put me over it, so I had to go with smaller stuff. But if I'd have been able to run my usual heavy lance, this mission would have taken like 5 minutes. But that's what you get when you got the limitations in game here.
Command interface initiated.
And this is a rather large map, too, so as they come in various places, you have to be careful, just as a heads up, if you do play this one, if you play this game and do the Flashpoints, you will run into this one. This is a pretty big map, and even with the fast-moving medium mechs, it is very easy to get spread out and overwhelmed if you're not careful, because you have a lance in front of you, a lance off to the side. They're already in, that they don't come in later, so I'm not giving anything away. But you have a lance in front of you, another lance off to the side, and the commander in the rear, as they showed, in a heavy mech. She's in an Orion, because it already said that in the description, so again, I'm not giving anything away. But you run into, it's very, very easy to, oh, I'm going to send two this way and two that way, and if you lose a mech, it's very easy to have half of your lance wiped out, because, to a lucky shot, you lose one of your mechs and you're fighting 2-to-1 odds. You're now fighting 4-to-1 odds, and you're screwed. So, try as best you can. I didn't. I was stupid in this. But try as best you can to keep your mechs together and concentrate your firepower, being mediums. As I say, it doesn't really cost me. I don't get killed. But it does take a little longer than it maybe should have, because I just don't have the all-in-one punch that I would have. Also, with the Hatchet Man I'm using, I'm a little bit screwed on that, because if you remember from other times I've run him, for ranged weapons, all he has is a quartet of flamers, which is one of the reasons I was kind of running around playing Scout with him, is he can't do long-range fire, so he's trying to go around and get line of sight on stuff and figure out what we're up against, and, if he gets a chance for a quick attack, do it. But leave the heavy hitters to take everything out while he finds it, pins it. Basically, he's playing cavalry here. Appropriate enough for me.
Waiting for orders. New sensor contact. Giving them everything I've got.
As I said in the last one I did, I have this one more, and the end of the Big Rev, all edited and video-wise in the can, ready to go. I just need to do the voiceovers for them. But all of them, including this one, are 50 to 60 minutes, so I'm going to spread them out, because I'm not going to sit and do 3 hours of recording and then, have to render them all separately. So I'm going to do, after this one, because I just did the recording for the previous one. That was like less than a half hour, 20-something minutes. I'm doing these two today, then render them, upload one at a time, and all that, because, as I said, these longer ones, especially once I have the voice file to put in with them, they take a very long time on my computer to render. It's not fast. It's not made for video editing. Usually takes about 3.5 times the length of the video to render it. So for an almost hour-long video, I'm looking at 3.5 hours of rendering time each. So, I'm doing the audio for this one. I should be finished with it about 2 o'clock local time here, 2 p.m. Even if all I did is put the audio, slap it on to the video, and then go to render it, I'm looking at 6 p.m. by the time it's done, and I still have the other one to render too. So, yeah, one or two of these is basically a day's worth of recording and rendering, so it kind of limits how quick I can put them out.
Firing on target.
Also, be thankful I stopped recording the Flashpoint campaign missions, because remember the very first one I did do a couple of just generic missions. I had one I did with my B team of mech warriors in assault mechs to try to keep them alive, but to try to get them some training and to make some money. I did one that one battle took me almost 2 hours of play.
Orders.
And I failed. So, yeah, I mean, I got a lot of rewards out of it. It was a good faith effort, and I'd accomplished all but one of the primary goals, plus I believe all but one of the secondary goals. But it still considered it a failure, so...
Multiple enemies.
Yeah, it was basically like 2 hours of video, a dead mech warrior, every one of the mechs knocked out
Inflicted some heavy damage.
for nothing, basically. I mean, I had 2 mechs left alive at the end. One of them was out of ammo. The other one was down to just 1 PPC and had a leg shot off. So they weren't really doing a lot. It was a mess of a fight. It was fun. I had a great time. It actually felt like an actual, real camp, in-universe, like tabletop, multi-stage operation like you play in a tournament or something. But God, did it take a long time, and man, the results were not worth it. So...
Reporting. Minimal damage.
But I'm getting to the point where I need to start making money, because the Debrev, after the first one, you don't make any money for those missions, and you don't really get much in the way of salvage to offset it. And some of these other ones I've been doing, not so much the Flashpoint missions, but some of the other non-Flashpoint missions I've been doing. Even if you win sometimes, especially if you're using assault mechs, your repair and rearm costs and having to go buy the weaponry to re-equip them and all that, if you take a lot of damage, sometimes costs more than you make in the mission. So you've really got to be careful and watch what you're doing, or you can find yourself, even at this stage of the game, bankrupt and done very quickly. I haven't gone bankrupt in this game in quite a while, but it does happen.
Yes,
I couldn't tell you actually the last campaign I had where I went bankrupt, but that's because I've just learned you got to be very, very, very careful with your finances. I've had quite a few times where I'll just park over a planet and do every single available mission, and still have to, at the end of doing all the available contracts for that world, still have to sell off almost all the mechs I have in my inventory and any weapon I can spare to be able to afford the repair and re-equipping costs of the mechs that I've been running. The prices, or the costs of operating as a mercenary in this game can really add up. I mean, I understand why they almost always go mercenary in these games, because then if you're doing it the other way, you run the risk of either having to adhere slavishly to canon or shit all over canon if you're playing a house or major state military and all that. I understand why they do mercenary. It gives them a lot more leeway with the story, but I'd rather be part of a house unit. I prefer the houses to mercenaries.
Oh, they don't like me
I mean,
at
even
all.
Mech Warrior 3, my favorite of the series, which takes place as part of Operation Bulldog, which is the campaign to eliminate Clan Smoke Jaguar and destroy them for the new Star League when it's established long after this time period we're doing. We're talking
Engaging jump
like
jets.
30, 40 years later. Um, you're still, you're part of a Star League campaign, but you play as Lance Commander, and I
Sensor
believe by
lock
the end
on
Company
target.
Commander of what do you want to call it? The Iridani Light Horse, which is a mercenary unit. So, even then,
Orders.
you're doing the main storyline, and you're playing, as what
Location
really
confirmed.
happens in canon. You're a small cog of a massive campaign in canon, but you're still doing it as a mercenary. Although I will say, as far as mercenaries go, the Iridani Light Horse is top of the heap as far as I'm concerned. They're a unit that started out as a Star League defense force, and after the Kerensky Exodus, when they decided to stay
Standing
behind
by.
to protect the people of the Inner Sphere, they became a
Copy
mercenary
that.
unit, and through their entire history, they have, as much as possible, tried to stick to the Star League sense of honor and moral code and
Target's
everything
taking a
else. They're
critical hit.
mercenaries, but they're about as close as you can get to a mainline house unit in a mercenary unit as you can get.
Light damage. Holding firm.
For reputation and sheer power, for my money, the only ones that can even hold a candle to the Iridani Light
Moving
Horse
out.
are either the Kellhounds or the Wolf Dragoons, both of which are much newer, don't have the absolutely ancient, by this point, lineage that the Iridani Light
Enemy
Horse has.
down.
Let me look quick. I gotta grab something. Give me just a second.
I'm here.
Let me look something up real quick here. Just since I'm talking about them, let me look this. I gotta get my phone going here because I had it shut off so I didn't have any messages showing up while I was doing this. Wait, what? The hell? Oh. I accidentally set something on the mouse pad of my laptop, and now all of a sudden
Waiting
my
for
computer is just going nuts. Give me a second to fix this here. It's not interfering with the recording or anything here. It's
Copy
just got
that.
stuff popping up in the background. There we go. Now we're back to normal. Alright, so if you're interested, if you want to know more about the Iridani Light Horse, and you want a good overview of the history post Ameris Civil War and fall of the Star League, especially history of the Inner Sphere and the BattleTech universe, there is a collection of stories. It's kind of like an omnibus of short stories from different authors called No Greater Honor, that follows the Iridani Light Horse from their days in the Star League all the way to the Ill Clan era of the current BattleTech setting. And most of them are very good stories, and they're not like repetitive, just the same thing over and over again. I mean, they've got them, fighting the clans. They've got them fighting various houses. They've got them fighting, obviously, in the Ameris Civil War from a soldier's point of view. It's very good. I've read it 2 or 3 times. I really like it. If you get a chance to pick it up, it's available as a Kindle and as a print copy. So I definitely recommend that one. I'll put a link to the Amazon for it in the description of this one in case you're interested, so you can find it. see, I'm finally getting the Hatchet Man into action because he's actually got support now. I wasn't going to run into the middle of a lance with no support nearby, but now that I have them here.
Good to go.
Speaking of Hatchet Men, the desktop scale model that I had been doing, I got almost completely painted. And after having my children this past weekend, my daughter, looking with her hands and not her eyes, broke it and destroyed it. So much for that thing. But whatever. It didn't turn out really the way I wanted anyway. It's either if she hadn't have broke it, I would have probably stripped all the paint off and started over again. Not happy with how it came out, but it's destroyed now. So much for that.
What's up, boss?
The only thing I was mad at her about was that she tried to hide it from me. She tried to stick it back together and stand it up, figuring I wouldn't notice. Children. If you just told me you were looking at it and accidentally broke it, I'd have been fine. What I'm mad about is you tried to hide it from me, like you think I'm not smart enough to notice. Oh, I just picked this up and it's broken. Wonder what happened.
They've blown past my armor.
But we all did shit like that when we were kids, so I couldn't be too mad at her about it.
Engaging physical attack.
And I love that little animation. The original before this HBS version didn't have a retractable hatchet. It was just a handheld club with a axe blade on it. But I really like the way they've edited it now to where it has that retractable, because that is especially that little animation of it where it flings the arm out and it comes out and then flips up like it's handheld. That is so cool. I never would have thought of that before I saw it, but now that I see it, I'm like, yeah, that's much cooler than just having a handheld war club.
What's up, boss? Firing all weapons.
As I said in the last one, it's still going in the background. If you hear weird tones and stuff going on in the background,
Armor low.
we have the scanner running out in the living room here, and I forgot to turn it off today.
Ready for orders.
And it's been going nuts today with the freezing rain we're getting
Location
here and
confirmed.
everything, so sorry about that. Usually it doesn't pick it up, and as I said in the last one, if it's not picking it up and you don't hear what I'm talking about, don't worry about it, but it's going off enough and it's loud enough. I'm afraid the microphone is going to pick it up in the background here, so as I said, just consider it a little extra radio chatter going on in the background here.
Engaging physical attack.
Another one down. God, I love the Hatchet Man.
Enemy mech destroyed.
I gotta say too, as odd as it sounds, it makes me feel like I'm actually accomplishing something using the Hatchet Man, because if you've noticed, every time that the opposition force has it, I don't think any of them have even gotten close enough to use anything other than that autocannon on the shoulder for a shot or two before they're just ripped to pieces. They are not meant for open field mainline BattleTech combat. They're meant for
Think I hit something good.
forests and mountains and urban settings where you can, duck behind cover and sneak around and everything else. So the fact that I am able to get the results I can with it in open fields like this, using it, and sometimes against multiple lance opposition, actually makes me feel pretty good, because I do a hell of a lot better with it than the computer ever does. As stupid as that sounds.
Coordinates received.
Because the default loadout on the stock Hatchet Man, the HCT3F, if I remember right, I think it's a little bit different here in the
Coordinates received.
HBS game, but the original tabletop TRO version of it is the hatchet in the right arm, I believe a medium laser in the right arm, 2 more medium lasers in the left
Roger
arm,
that.
and I say I could be remembering the locations wrong, but I do remember it's 3 medium lasers, and an
Moving
AC-10 in the shoulder. And the odd quirk it has in universe that its targeting system is actually taken off of an anti-aircraft mech. So despite the fact that it only has the one AC-10, it has the quirk of anti-aircraft targeting, which is odd for a melee mech, but whatever.
Full throttle.
But this one, the version I have here, as I said before, is a non-canon version of it that I've got with like enhanced actuators and stuff put on it, and a quartet of flamers.
Taking damage.
Not so much as this one is standing in the water, it doesn't make a big difference, but in a normal urban or setting where you're in a high heat environment or something like that, those 4 flamers are very, very effective. If I get close enough to do a melee attack, if the hatchet doesn't kill you, the 4 flamers are likely
Ready
to
for
overheat
orders.
you and shut you down, so it's an effective loadout. Severely limits your options as far as ranged combat goes, but against mechs, especially in a high heat environment like on a moon or a Martian environment or something, it's very effective.
Acknowledged. Acknowledged.
I had one using it in one I didn't record in a Martian environment. It snuck around and ran up behind a king crab that was already running high on heat from a couple of alpha strikes, and it got up next to it, chopped off the leg, knocked it over, and hit it with the 4 flamers that did so much damage the thing basically detonated the ammo in it and killed it. So yeah, it can be very effective. In the right circumstances.
Acknowledged.
Standing by. Moving to position.
I'm trying to sucker the Orion up onto dry land to hit it with the hatchet man, but it doesn't work. My trebuchet is out of LRMs, so that kind of limits what it's capable of doing.
Yes, Commander.
It's just a question of whittling
Location
this
confirmed.
Orion down and finishing it off.
Copy that.
What's up, boss?
So now that he's not
Got it.
biting, we say the hell with it and just move up, start hitting with it. Or her, I should say.
Reporting critical hit.
But we'll get into who this is in the post-mission here.
Receiving you. Copy that. Confirmed.
Engaging jump jets.
Last shot with the
All
flamers.
weapons committed.
And because she's in the water, it doesn't do as much heat damage as it normally would, but it still spikes the heat up pretty well. Because I saved him for last, I believe he gets to go first next round. Although I could be getting my turn order a little messed up here. Nope, I did remember right.
Warning. Light damage imminent.
See, I see this much more cinematically in my head. I picture this thing coming down on the jump jet, swinging the hatchet down as it comes rather than landing with its legs, but whatever. There it is.
Mission successful.
The plot thickens. I think this is where I pick up the fire starter. I always take a scroll down just to see what is available, because sometimes there's unexpected components, but there wasn't anything for this one, so fire starter. Oh, so and of course a resolution glitch here. As she says, she has her not only her blood shit that you can the DNA proves who she says she is. She has an impeccable MRB rating with her unit to boot, same as you do. So she is also a very good and trustworthy mercenary, not who you were led to believe you were facing. So it turns out, as she's saying here, her mother is slipping into senility, and her brother is, how do we put this, a manipulative little prick. And he's trying to manipulate to the point where he will be the heir to take over, not his older sister. And at least according to her, that would be very, very bad for the whole planet. And looking at the two sides of this, again, as you know, I've said before, looking at it in universe as an experienced mercenary serving out on the periphery, dealing with this kind of stuff, you have somebody with, you know, an impeccable MRB rating, fought you honorably, is speaking to you person to person, laying out what's going on, versus somebody who's hiding and manipulating his senile mother into trying to kill his own sister. Not much of a stretch to figure out which side of this I tend to decide to go with here. You have the option. You can choose which way you want to go. However, she does say that she will uphold her mother's agreement to support House Kurita's interests, which is what you're there for. You're not there specifically to kill her. You're there to ingratiate Bob with this family, so you can accomplish your goal by going off mission and supporting her against her brother, which it does get into and explain and show, so it's not, you know, it's not a stretch. It makes perfect sense. I have gone the other way, and I will say I don't want to spoil it in case you try to do it that way. I'm not real happy with the resolution of that one. I think this one not only makes much more sense in universe, this one I believe for if you're any kind of an honorable mercenary as opposed to just a thuggish headhunter, makes much more sense character-wise to back her than him. But as I say, I play this differently than other people might. So, oh, look at that. I can take the 3 undamaged medium mechs and the archer for some good fire support. So I swap out the trebuchet with 2 medium lasers and 2 LRM-15s for a 20-ton heavier mech with much more armor, 2 medium lasers, and 2 very, very good LRM-20s. So, yeah, this is going to be ugly.
Command interface initiated.
We're down to only about 15 minutes of this one left. So as I said, the first part of this mission is what takes forever. The second part goes much quicker. This guy has an awful lot of faith in his bodyguards, I will say. He's got a lot of faith in some not real effective bodyguards here, but
Roger.
Moving out. out.
This would be much easier if I could take all 4 of my heavy mechs, but even with the mediums, it takes a while because it limits your options, but it's still, we kill him till he's dead. Let's put it that way.
Acknowledged.
We kill him
Hostile
so
on
dead he
sensor.
doesn't even get a chance to do like the, you know, the movie villain monologue before he dies. He's just dead.
Standing by.
I was expecting something a little more visually different for something called the Red
Waiting for
Roost,
orders.
but
Roger that.
I'm being, as you notice, as I'm coming up with this, I'm being very tentative with the approach because it's been a long, as I've said, it's been a long time since I ran this one. I remembered the basic like outline of what happens, but not what you're up against. So I'm kind of trying to not get overwhelmed by a whole bunch of stuff, and with this having turrets,
Orders?
I'm trying to move up to where I can hopefully, theoretically, take out one target enemy at a time. I won't say it works out, but that's what I'm trying to do. Because you have at least the one Lance of Mechs where you don't really know what you're up against. For all you know, it's a Lance of Assaults. And you have the 4 turrets around the facility itself. So, you know, being in medium mechs, you do have run the risk of getting a hurt real bad in this one. So I'm trying to play smart and tentative in this one.
Inflicted some heavy damage.
So at least that one's an LRM turret. Let's see what happens going forward here. Trying to decide what I want to do with him. I end up reserving him to see if anybody moves up. Okay, so we've got a Shadowhawk, which is already hurting. A Hatchet Man just came into visual range. Now I can start moving up and seeing what else we got. Trying to take out this Shadowhawk before it gets a chance to move again. So there goes most of its weaponry, and it's knocked down. So it's not eliminated, but it's more or less neutralized as a major threat.
Reporting light damage.
And a Vindicator. A Vindicator in Liao space? Oh my god, tell me it isn't so. The Vindicator and the Cataphract are like 2 basically totem mechs for
All weapons are go.
Cataphract is an ugly son of a bitch, but in good hands, it's not a terrible mech.
Orders.
That's a slay mech, so that's not. Oh no, it was the Vindicator that fired the PPC at me, so I was just at a brief moment of, so he isn't what fired the PPC, but I forgot about the Vindicator.
Full throttle.
Okay, get eyes on more stuff. Running him, he should have a high enough evasive that he isn't too worried about anything coming in here. Oh, it is just the 3 of the mechs. Okay. So his bodyguard that he said is going to stomp you into the ground is a Vindicator, a Hunchback, and a Phoenix Hawk. Yeah, that's not real. Anything to really worry about here. So let's hit this Vindicator.
Engaging physical attack.
Torso and arm destroyed. Whole hell of a lot of heat inflicted on him. Hunchback pulls back. Boy, am I glad I maxed out the armor on that Hunchback.
Armor low.
Commander. Acknowledged.
Vindicator's down. All we have left is that hunchback and the turrets.
Receiving you. Acknowledged.
And for my money, that
Firing a
hunchback
full
is the
salvo.
bigger threat. So let's try to take him out.
Yeah.
Hunchback,
Moving out.
meet Archer. Archer, meet Hunchback.
This should be good. I've been sensor locked.
You can take it. You're the only heavy mech on the field.
Warning. Armor low.
That's what the double PPCs were. It was that turret. Okay, that was what I was thinking. There was an extra mech over here. I forgot there's PPC turrets.
Engaging physical
Bye-bye.
attack.
Target destroyed.
But now I have the issue of I can't really do anything to the buildings and turrets with flamers. And it doesn't let you melee attack turrets or buildings, which is dumb. You should be able to just run through them.
Move order received.
Whatever.
All weapons are go.
So now we just gotta
Ready
take
for
out
orders.
these turrets, and then we can stomp him into snail snot
I
at our
copy.
leisure.
Good to go.
I'm trying to get both of them down to where he can take out 2 turrets in 1 turn here, if I remember right. I don't think it works, but we'll try it. Yellow rep turret down. Oh yeah, it worked. Good.
One less turret.
Yeah, with the turrets, they're very limited in their armor spread. If you get to where you're starting to damage the internal structure, that's what that orange bar that pops up to the left of the status is. If you get to where the internal structure is starting to take damage, they're very quick to knock out after that point. However, you see some of them, like the Shredder turret here, especially once you get into assault weight turrets, some of them are sporting a ton of armor. That means, like, they can take an alpha strike from an assault mech sometimes. But the standards are not
That one's
that
gone.
tough, at least not for heavy mechs. For light mechs and medium mechs, yes, they can be one hell of a ordeal to deal with sometimes.
Waiting for orders.
Yellow ram on him and start working on the buildings.
Affirmative. Enemy structure is weakening.
Engaging jump jets. Engaging target.
So you attack with the flamers. They do a little bit of damage, but
Ready
you
for
think
orders.
4 jets of superheated plasma hitting a building would do more than that.
Giving him everything I've got.
And turret's down, so now we can just pick these buildings
Turret
off at
destroyed.
leisure, and we're done.
Standing by. Taking the shot. Position confirmed. Waiting for orders. Got it. Confirmed. Good shot, Commander. Enemy
Bring that one
structure
down
down.
with the LRMs. Start damaging this next one with the medium lasers.
Flamer fuel.
Got one already
depleted.
damaged, and then one more to get taken out. Here, we're already halfway through what we got.
Locking on target.
That one, I believe, down. Yep. One more to go.
One less target.
Yes, Commander. Firing. Standing by.
Bye-bye.
Locked on target.
Get your lance to the LZ, Commander. I'm coming in hot.
Mission accomplished. As I say, I find the
Mission
honorable,
successful.
straight-up dealer here, especially in the Cappellan Confederation. That is rare, at least as far as the noble houses of the Cappellan Confederation go. I find her much more palatable to back than him. So I have, however, played this straight up as just a uncaring headhunter mercenary. So I have gone the other way, but I like this way better. As he says, here's hoping we don't run into another job like that. That was pretty ugly. Come on. I don't remember why I left this sitting here so long. I didn't catch it when I was doing the editing how long this sits on this screen, or I would have trimmed it down. But this was a very long video file. It had to be cut up into, like, I think 5 segments when I was all said and done with this one, so I just missed how long this one was in the process. Sorry about that. Notice, too, my mercenary review board rating. 1,000, I believe, is the maximum rating you can get, so I'm doing pretty good. However, not the next mission I'm going to put up, but the one after it. It goes up significantly, let's put it that way. Your reputation gets one heck of a boost going forward. Again, not from this one or the next one, but you will see. Because I make a point to include it at the end of the video after that one mission that's coming up, just how much your reputation has gone up. Let's just say if in universe, the novels or something, if a character did what you do in that one that's coming up, you'd become a thing of myth and legend in the periphery. He has no idea what's going on here. Of course, as usual, Samire, just shut the hell up. You don't even know what's going on. Sit back and listen. I like, too, the subtle little bit here of if you've ever had to deal with somebody that is slipping into senility and losing their faculties a little bit. I love the little touch of reminding her of something from her childhood that she would probably remember, both to prove that it's her and to try and calm her down. I gotta say, as far as the writing goes, that is a nice little thing to work in, because that's something that you do have to do. I've had to deal with it with people in my life that, if they're not really on top of what's going on now, to try to get them to focus and get them to remember who you are and all that. Kind of remind them of something from a long time ago, because it's not universal, but a lot of time with folks dealing with that, the stuff that happened sometimes decades ago can seem a lot more current and easy to remember than recent things. That's well done the way they did that. I had to deal with that with my own grandmother a few times, so she was not as bad as this one's made out to be, but her health was definitely slipping by the end. Okay, so there's the end. As usual, thank you for watching. Give a like, subscribe, even just a thumbs up. It's greatly appreciated, helps me out. And we will see you on the next one. Later.